and then we can probably edit
Awesome.
it.
So we've been talking about doing this for a long time, and I always feel like everything happens in divine order, right? Divine timing,
Yeah.
and this must be the perfect, precise, exact moment
Yeah.
for us to connect through this format, this channel, this medium,
Mm-hmm.
and we first met at a place sometimes called the Sky Temple
Mm-hmm.
in outside of Asheville with some mutual friends and mutual dear friends. One of which is Thesa, who's the sort of the queen bee of the
Yeah.
temple there.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's great to connect. It's 4th of July. It's a day to celebrate freedom, a day to celebrate our freedom. So what a perfect day to come together and celebrate our freedom and talk about freedom and what it really is and what it isn't.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So you've been having some inquiries into freedom and liberation and what
Mm-hmm.
it is.
Yeah. It seems to be ever present. Sometimes I forget.
Or even for you to forget.
Right.
How cool is that? Like, how great is that?
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. We're
And then
free to forget. We're free to remember.
yeah, when you remember, you realize you've always been free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I feel like uh, it's good to explore why is that the case? Like, we're always free. So it seems like the root of the question to get to the sense of how do we discover this ever-present freedom is really to discover who you really are, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because the misperception of who what we really are is what creates the misperception of lack of freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really rich. It's a rich topic.
Yeah. And when you drop out of being a part, like
Yeah,
an individual and a separate identity that's running around that needs to or has to do things or whatever, then when you fall into the spaciousness, it's just an infinite field of freedom.
yeah.
And then
It's
everything is a miracle. Everything you do
exactly,
is like, whoa.
exactly. Everything is a miracle.
Yeah.
So that's really fascinating because so many of these teachings are kind of the more superficial teachings are how to have more positive thoughts, get away from the negative thoughts, get away from negativity.
Mm-hmm.
um, and it creates this kind of like tension, this kind of like anxiousness of like, oh gosh, I have to get away from the bad things, I have to try to get the good things, and then who is the one that's trying to get away from the bad things to get to the good things anyway, right? So it's what's amazing is to open up something that's so much deeper than any of that kind of well, Buddha would call it the wheel of samsara, where he's kind of spinning around and around and avoiding this and chasing that,
Mm-hmm.
and to recognize, yeah, like instead of fighting the bad thoughts and chasing the good thoughts, to recognize it, to have an unconditional relationship with the moment where whatever is arising is recognized as miraculous, whatever it is, you know,
Yes.
whatever the distinct flavor of it is.
Yes. Yes. And that's the beyond the polarity. That's the just
Yeah,
out of I don't want this, so I'm gonna get this, or I'm gonna fight this with this, or I'm gonna try to get away from that. And when you let all the negativity like devour you, like all the negative thoughts come up, it's like, oh no, no, no. And if you just let them surface and go
and be
into,
as they are. Yeah,
hey, you see them as just these phantom thought forms,
Yeah.
and there's no substance to any of it.
Yeah. Well, that's what's so amazing is like at the essence. So there's a thought, and then we resist the thought because we make the thought bad. We make the thought negative. We make the thought something that's needs to be destroyed or needs to be moved away from, or whatever the word you want to use. But we make the thought into a thing essentially. That's so amazing. Like the resistance actually makes it something.
Mm-hmm.
Where like in the essence of it, what's so amazing is coming to me more clearly, like, you know, in this right now dialoguing with you, is that the thought itself is also just empty space.
Yeah. So
Whatever the thought is.
it doesn't matter. It's like, oh, empty space here, empty space
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And when we make it like real, it's like holding on to like a demon, and then like holding on to an angel to save you from the demon, and then like running. You're like running, but you can't get away because you're holding on to all.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you just let it go and let it like overwhelm you into the point of nothingness. I mean, that's one way to do it. Like a few nights ago, for me, all the negative things just started going, and the only option was going into that pure space. There's no winning in the battle. You step out.
Yeah. And the clear space is it's who you really are.
Yeah.
You know, so really ultimately we have no choice but to be the essence of what we are.
Yeah.
You know, the vastness of what we are. Yeah, and then like, and then you know, from that realization, this sense of like any kind of trying to get positive thoughts or efforting or struggling to get more positive thoughts, it's just creating the law. It's obscuring our freedom. It's obscuring the essence of us realizing our freedom that's present now.
Yes. And so it drops out of time because there's nothing to sacrifice or deal with to get to the place, to get to paradise, to get to
Right.
it's better, because it's all here. So it
It's all
collapses.
now.
And then that the manipulation and the like obsessive mind, it is so obviously painful. It's like vibrationally painful.
Yeah.
Where it's like, no, like it's like you become so present that any distortion is fine because it's nothing. But to cling to it doesn't make any sense because it's so like, why would I like hold on to this one thing
Yeah.
for no reason?
Yeah. Yeah, and you know the pain is interesting too, pain or suffering, because people will be like, well, why did God or whoever, or why is there pain or suffering in the universe? But like even hearing you talk about it, it's like the pain is really there as a compassionate mechanism. Like the pain is there to say, hey, you're off course. Like
Yeah.
you're losing who you really are. And it's the intention is to guide you back into the essence of who you are.
Yes.
But then we go like, well, I don't want pain. I want to try to fight this pain. But the pain is actually your friend, you know, and if you're really in tune and you're really present, really aligned, it's just very subtle. It's just you just need like a subtle tap and it'll bring you back this way. Subtle tap here, bring you back this way, you know. But when we start like fighting it and resisting it, and then we really get lost in the mind. We get lost in pain and suffering, because we're not present to initially pay attention to the signal when it's more subtle.
Yes. Yes. Like it builds momentum.
Yeah.
You're like, I want this, and it kinks your energy a little, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
but it'll get me to something. Okay.
Yeah.
When you do that long enough to the point
Yeah.
where the whole thing just collapses and burns.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here I am again.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest causes of suffering in the world is the idea of the means to an end.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Which
I'm
is
gonna, yeah, right, creates the perception of time, perpetuates the illusion of time. But
yeah,
I'm gonna create some kind of like suffering for myself or suffering for others. You know, it's interesting even to look at Hitler. So his idea ultimately in his mind was a good one. Like, I'm
right.
going to create this master race, and everything's going to be great and beautiful, and it's going to be
Yeah,
everything's going to be in this wonderful state, like
yeah,
kind of like a heaven on earth kind of a state, you know.
right.
But to do that, I need to create violence and war and suffering and get rid of the bad people, and you know. But ultimately, it will be for a good reason, you
Right.
know.
It doesn't.
And it's like that's a really extreme example, but as just in everyday life, like we do that in subtle ways, you know, all the time, and don't realize it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
for the better future that's actually never going to come.
Mm-hmm. Like cutting people off and like speeding.
Right.
It's fine. Like it doesn't. It's
I have to get to the post office by 11 o'clock.
you don't understand. This is so important.
When you get to the post office, you won't be any happier than you are in your car.
Yeah, yeah, and like it's releasing the arrogance of assuming like these underlying assumptions that we pretty much approach almost every situation with. Just
Mm-hmm.
even language sets up these foundations. There's this like, what I'm saying is real, but what I'm saying
Yeah.
is meaninless.
Yeah.
I'm distorting the infinity to create an experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful, like to recognize that and to realize that. And it's probably the most challenging thing to communicate to someone else, right? Because words are dualistic in
Mm-hmm.
their nature. So words are pointing to something,
Mm-hmm.
right?
But they
And
aren't the thing.
right, right.
Even but they're linear, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And
So
dual.
it's like, how do you point someone to everywhere?
Yeah.
Everywhere that's right now,
Yeah.
which is not a thing at all.
Yeah. It's such a
Yeah,
it's a paradox. It's like an art
yeah,
form, it's poetry. Because
yeah,
then
yeah.
to be the example, literally, like Gandhi says, it's like you be so that your frequency, the vibration of being and embodying and
Yeah,
existing
yeah.
is what you're emanating. And then the
Mm,
words carry that
mm.
within. Yeah.
And then there's also the transmission of presence that's beyond the words,
Yeah.
you know. And I think as people start to waken up, they start to tune into that more,
Yeah.
you know. I was at a point where I was still going to songs, but I wasn't really paying attention to the words anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I was just kind of sit and be in the energy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And the words were just kind of like they were there, but they weren't really anything to hang on to,
Yeah.
you know. I think there's a certain point where it becomes more about that of like just being in the frequency, being in the transmission, where you can feel somebody that's like, you know, being a channel for this awakened consciousness, and just, you know, you're basically just attuning to this
Mm-hmm.
presence, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and the words are just there as well. They're
Yeah.
just there also.
Yeah.
Yeah, like really resting in the ground of being, you know.
Yeah. And like falling out of we tend to abandon ourselves, our moment, our that kind of like go, 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 or don't, or like that. The Buddhist like attachment and aversion, the polarity of I don't want that, I want that. But if you
Uh-huh.
just collapse, which takes a little practice because we're habituated to play, to go, to run. And so it's also out of that fight or flight, dropping out of the survival and the overstimulated nervous system. And
Yeah,
and it's available to every single being on the planet.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
amazing. There's no special course, there's no special flag or gold piece or anything. It's such a beautiful mechanism.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I find it when I'm like doing the retreats and people are used to this kind of means to an end, like what is this retreat going to do for me? What am I going to get out of it? What's going to happen here that's going to like benefit me? Which is, it's valid on a certain level,
Mm-hmm.
but then what happens is if you relax into this grounded being, and it's like, wow, like just being together, in a truly deep way, in a truly sense of really being present, really be relaxed into this moment
Mm-hmm.
together. This is what actually, like, all these things I've been doing, all these things I've been trying to achieve was actually like to try to get to this.
Yes.
And this is actually right here.
Yes.
So it's actually not like, so the way I say it sometimes is like, it's not a process of addition, it's a process of subtraction.
Yeah.
It's actually just people, a term you hear in spiritual circles a lot is letting go,
Yeah.
right? So like letting go and just relaxing into this moment and the essence of what you are, which
Mm-hmm.
is here. And then there's a sense of being at home in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a sense of like complete intimacy with this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as you said, there's a sense of magic and miraculousness
Mm-hmm.
of what's arising, like an unconditional, uh, an unconditional relationship of this moment is like, oh, even to feel pain is miraculous, to feel pleasure is miraculous, to feel happy is miraculous, to feel sad is miraculous. It's all just, it's one divine miracle that's present now that we're sharing together.
Yes. Yes. And so we can actually live. It's so funny. We can
Yeah.
actually exist and aware that we're existing.
Mm-hmm.
And then any choice we make comes from that place, the infinite nothing place. And so it's seen clearly rather than habitual, just go, grab, take. It's like, it's an act, it's a conscious act, even though it's all conscious. But to what degree are you aware of the motivations that drive the desire for whatever is desired?
Mm-hmm.
I'm melting as I speak.
It's an interesting question that comes up sometimes is people will say like, okay, just being and just, just in this now, and like, what about purpose? Like, what's my purpose?
Mm-hmm.
Or even a more interesting question I sometimes explore is like, where does motivation come from?
Mm-hmm.
If you're just being in fulfillment right now, then
Mm-hmm.
where does motivation or the sense of purpose
Mm-hmm.
come from? What's your response to that kind of inquiry?
It's a good question.
Yeah, it's a really good question.
Because we tend to be so driven,
Uh-huh.
and then when we start to tap into the emptiness, you get almost lazy. You're just like,
Mm-hmm.
why would I do anything at all? When you really release and let go of how you're perceived and everything you thought you wanted collapses.
Because those things are not going to make you any, like, that's the amazing thing. Like, it becomes like really clear that those things are not going to make you any happier.
Yes.
So what's the point of working so hard to achieve them now?
Yes.
Like, if nothing's really going to make me any happier than I am right now, or then like, what's the point of trying to achieve anything?
Right. And the irony is when you let go of it, you have like a subtle kind of wish or curiosity, and someone like brings it to you. Like my dad and I couldn't find good watermelons that were ripe and delicious. And this morning there was a watermelon on the porch from our neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
And we gave up. We're like, I don't know if we can find the right watermelon. So you just kind of let go, and then the irony is the universe just is like, here's a bunch of gold on a platter, or here's that
Yeah.
car you wanted, and you can have it for free. And
Yeah.
all the efforting that you thought got you to what you desired was blocking, in a sense. It was just muddying up your energy field. And then everything is a curiosity, and you might desire this or that, but the like burning desire tends to transmute into a preference or a subtle desire or a curiosity, and you see it as a choice.
Uh-huh. So what do you feel creates the blocks?
Negative definitions and beliefs, like distorted ones.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not good enough to have this.
Yeah.
Harder, I'll be valid to have it.
Yeah.
And all the thoughts we habitually tell ourselves, and then we base those on time, like I can never have what I want, and all that kind of, or I want what I want but I don't know if I can have it, and that it just gets all
Uh-huh.
like
It feels like the root is like a attachment identification to a limiting belief of who you are.
yes,
Right?
yes,
Yeah.
and seeking to release that through a mechanism.
Mm.
If I have a convertible, I can feel the freedom of the wind blowing in my hair or something, but then
Uh-huh.
it becomes one.
And then you need the next thing, because that might help you to like escape for a few moments. Then it's like, oh no, what's the next thing that can give me that freedom? What's the next thing that gave me that freedom? You know? And then the inquiry, if it arises, is like, well, is there a way I can stop chasing freedom and like recognize it as something that's ever present in who and what I truly am?
Yeah.
What an exciting question that is.
Yeah. And as soon as you start to feel bad, just like let go, give up.
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and like, what am I buying into that is pinching me? What is that? What is it? And then as soon as you recognize it, it just disappears. Or you further inquiry and keep looking at it, because sometimes it's attached to other little threads. You just let it all go. Because there's no work to undo anything. There's no healing to be done. You let go, and it all, like, your whole system starts to tune.
Yeah. And the freedom, I mean, when I say it, it sounds like so simple and obvious, but of course it's not, because well, anyway, the freedom is not in a thing, you know, and it seems obvious because, well, a thing is just a little tiny thing, whatever it is. Even if it's a big thing, it's still just a thing.
Yeah.
And things are temporary. Things come and go. They arise and fall. They appear and disappear.
Yeah.
So if we're attaching our freedom to any kind of a thing, including even a person, then we're not going to actually feel free. We're going to feel the opposite of free. You know, if I'm attaching my freedom to the convertible, like, I'm not really free, you know, because I'm attached to the convertible. It doesn't mean that you can't have things that you find beautiful, or the things that you find, things that you find are just high vibration in your life. Doesn't mean that at all. It just means that you're not. I think that you recognize that the freedom is in realizing who you really are, and who you really are is not a thing, and who you really are is infinite, right? Has no limits, has no borders, has no beginning or end, has no top or bottom. And so when you recognize who you are, then you're unlimited. And then for you, anything is possible, which is true for everyone, but not everyone is in that awareness.
Yes. and you open up to that abundance, to the
Yeah.
abundance of infinity. So you can have
Yeah.
$1 million in a convertible.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can have everything
Yeah.
you ever thought you wanted, but it's no big deal anymore. It's like
Right.
convertible. It's $1 million.
Right.
It comes and
Right.
goes. All just like
Right.
fluid, because you are it. You're
And
all
that's why the law of attraction ultimately makes me laugh all the time, because the teachings they'll say like, um, be like a resonance, like a resonant field. What you want, be that now, be in the vibration of that now, be in the resonant field of that now, and then you'll attract it back to you, which I
yeah,
think is totally true. But the
yeah,
joke is, like, if you are in that resonant energy now, then once you're actually in it, you actually don't need the thing that you thought you wanted, because you're in the energy and the resonance now.
yeah, yeah. It's like, I am $1 million, and then someone
Yeah,
gets a briefcase of $1 million, and you're
yeah,
like, oh, thanks. Like, I
yeah,
know. You already
yeah.
know.
I already was that anyway.
So it's not like, oh, now I can experience this.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and so then what people are doing, the way people are using the law of attraction, or misusing it, is, even though like the teachings, the deeper teachings are pretty clear on this, people are still like fundamentally so often coming from the lack consciousness.
hmm
You know, I want to try to get this thing, that I don't have. That's not who I am.
hmm
And, it's not really going to work, because you're not being that energy now.
hmm
But if you're in that energy now, you wouldn't really need the thing.
Right.
It's so fun.
And then it's like garnish, or it's like
Yeah.
sprinkled on top. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
great. This is
Yeah.
delightful.
Yeah.
But it's
Which
not like,
goes,
this is me.
yeah. And that goes back to the question. So that question of like, if you're in the fullness of being now, where does desire or motivation come from? And I think what happens is, and just observing, you and I are friends, so I know a bit about what you're doing and what I'm doing. Um, there is the sense of like, oh, nothing needs to be done. I could just sit here. Uh, like Eckhart Tolle has a story about, he just sat on a park bench every day for several years, and he was in a blissful state, and didn't feel need to do anything else. And there is that energy that's there. Like, I could just sit here and look at the trees and the leaves, and but then I seems like when we kind of empty ourselves out and the mind becomes quiet and we're present in the moment, it's almost like we become a conduit for some kind of a creative energy that wants to like move through us, and it
hmm
wants to create things. Like, this is a creative universe, and it wants to create through us.
Yeah.
So that's what it feels like. It's there is a lot of inspiration. There's a lot of, you could say, motivation, if you want to use that word. There's a lot of um, energy that wants to create in the world,
Yes.
but it's coming from like a different place
Yeah.
than from the ego.
Yes.
It's almost like you don't even know why it's coming through.
Right. And so then it's this journey. It's this exploration of, I want to
uh,
do this thing. Why? I don't know. I'm getting
yeah,
where I'm gonna go talk to this person, and I have
yeah,
no, like, and so any preconceived notions are just kind of destroyed. Like, the desire
yeah,
pushes you through that bubble of limitation that you built up.
yeah,
That's the beauty of it.
yeah,
It's such a great mechanism. For instance, I want to do fungi remediation stuff in like polluted areas. And if I go into like, oh no, the earth is polluted, it starts to go, wah. But if I go, oh, what a maze, what a game, what a opportunity to play and explore and like give with no expectations,
yeah,
no, no locking anything down. It's just, hey, you got a bunch of, your river is purple. How can we help?
purple rain.
Yeah. Do you guys want help? Okay, cool. It's just, it becomes light because you see that it doesn't matter. None of it matters. It's
uh,
neutral. It's infinite. It's a hologram.
it's like the joy of creation itself, you know. I think that's what I feel it's not about the end point or the result anymore, even though there may be there may be an idea of a result or an end point or goal. All those things can still be totally what arises in consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the joy of the moment, the creative flow of the moment
Mm-hmm.
itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you're with, like, for example, like a painter, like the painter, the artist, is loving the creation of the artwork.
Yes.
It's not like, oh, this is like a horrible, I can't wait, this is over and I can get to the end of this painting's done, you know. No, you're doing it for the joy of the creation, you know,
Yes.
itself. It's kind of like living from that space, like being in the creative energy, you know.
Yes, because there's no destination. Like as
Right.
soon as it's over, you will want something else. Like as soon
Hmm.
as you're done painting, as soon as the joy of that creation culminates, there'll be another desire,
Yeah.
another avenue. And so it's like being in the destination and like being in the journey at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like us, we don't even know why we're doing this.
Yeah. And then it's honest, right? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Instead of no, I know this, I know that, I know
Uh-huh.
this, I did this, I did over here, and then you start to have all these little rooms.
And there's a joy of creative energy that's here that, you know, we share together.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just this kind of knowing that it leads to somewhere beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and like each step reveals itself.
Yes, like a
Yeah.
flower opening.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then there's the trust. There's the trust that creation works, and I don't have to like make it work.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hearing the birds singing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why are you singing, bird? Bird. Do you have a
Yeah.
go to
You know,
sing?
it's funny how like these scientists will put all these theories about why animals are doing these different things they're doing. Well, they're making this sound to do this. Like, it's like, well, how do you know that? Like, maybe they just feel like singing.
Yeah.
Maybe we just feel like talking, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Feels like a good resting point
Yeah.
to be continued.
Sounds good.
And
Return.
to all of you who are listening with us, to us, thanks for sharing the journey. We have more fun treats in store for you. Together,
Yeah.
we'll be sharing some more things together. So stay tuned in this now and future nows.
Yeah. Cheers.